Okay, there are just certain pieces of equipment like your camera batteries that are critical on set, but you don't really think about them as kind of like the sexy thing to get. And I put one up there really close to me in batteries, which is going to be a neutral density filter for your lens. That's one of those things that I think a lot of you who are getting into this business don't really think about, but it's something that is absolutely critical if you want to have true control over your image. Because what a VND does is it allows you to control the light in your image without having to make sacrifices on ISO, shutter speed, or aperture. It really gives you that complete creative control, and you can control the light through your filter. This is something that every professional I've ever met uses these, and if you don't have one, it's something you're going to need to add to your kit. Now recently, Haida sent me this one right here to take a look at, and this is the Haida Pro II 2-in-1 CPL and a VND filter. If you don't know what that means, I'll go ahead and tell you in just a second. But what this is a super simple, extremely intuitive design that lets you put it here on the front of your camera and completely change the look of what you're going. I'm gonna go outside in a minute just to show you what a difference this kind of filter makes. Whew, okay, so I'm out here in the worst human conditions you could have to shoot something. The sun is hitting me, I'm getting baked, but the important thing is my camera settings are exactly the way I want it. I have an f2.8 for a nice shallow depth of field. I have an 800 ISO to maximize my dynamic range, and I have my shutter set at 1/50th or 180 degrees to get the motion blur the way I want. I don't want to compromise on my camera settings, and that's where this comes in handy. You can see right here, if I put this on, boom, I immediately gain control of my exposure and get it. If I take it off, you can see just how much control the 7 stops of ND go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on so we can talk about one other thing about this that's really important. Okay, so here I am now with that VND on my camera lens, and you can see right away it controls what I want. I haven't had to compromise what's on my camera. Now, obviously this picture looks terrible because I'm in terrible light to illustrate this, but this precision is really nice. And if I reach over, you can see as I guide it, you know, it goes all the way to 3 to 7. You can see just how smooth and stepless that is. So that gives me that precision control that I really want to get. But there's one other part. Remember, this is a 2-in-1 filter, and that 2 part is important because that second part is a circular polarizer. And if you look behind me, I have a lot of foliage. And on that foliage, there is a lot of sunlight bouncing around, and it's leading to a lot of glare off those foliage, which can be distracting. But a CPL allows me to control that. Let me show you. I'm gonna come over here real quick and just show you what I can do. Because I can rotate the filter here, if you look at the leaves here, look what happens when I rotate a circular polarizer. I can totally, check that out, knock that glare off. Really look at the glare here. I'm gonna take it back. Look at the glare on those leaves, and now I can take it and boom, really knock it down and eliminate it. And that allows me to remove one more distraction from my piece, and it allows me to once again have one more level of control on my lens. And if you're making stuff, if you're using a camera, getting that control is the most important thing. So having a VND and a CPL is a really, really powerful combination that lets you get a lot of control in your lighting situations. Okay, now here's one other area that I think a lot of you don't realize just how important these circular polarizers are going to be when you're shooting stuff. And that's going to be any kind of product things or anything dealing with glass and reflections that's not necessarily water. Now, as you can see, I have a minivan behind me. I want to go over there and show you exactly how this CPL, how well it can work on an image. So if you look right here, I do have a standard minivan, very exciting, but look at the reflections in the glass. But check this out, if I just dial in this CPL, boom, look how incredible that is at getting those reflections removed. I can take it back just to show you once again just the difference. And as you can see, that is a tremendous difference in these reflections. And being able to deal with reflections in such a way to minimize them, you don't need this just on glass. You need this on any kind, you're doing any kind of product video or anything like that. This really allows you to get that precision control and get rid of unwanted reflections in your work. So having any kind of a circular polarizer on a filter, especially one as simple as this, is something that's going to be very, very important to up the game in your professional work. Now there is one other aspect whenever I am talking about any kind of ND filter, especially a variable ND filter, that has a circular polarizer in there that you have to bring up, and that is going to be what I call the dreaded X of death. Now, when you have cheaper ND filters, what will happen is because they don't have hard stops in them, when you come to them, you'll actually get this black X that takes over your frame. It will absolutely ruin your shots. Believe me, as someone that has been there before and used cheap NDs in the past. So it's one of those things, if you're going to buy an ND filter, I always like to know how bad the vignetting and X of death is on these filters. And the good news about this Haida Pro is that it doesn't really have that X of death. So you know, because it's got those hard stops built in, that even if you crank it all the way to 7 stops with the circular polarizer, you're not going to run into a chance of ruining your footage with what I consider the black X of death. So a very, very important thing to look at if you're looking at getting any kind of filter. Now, whenever you're trying to come up with what kind of system to get, it is good to think about what a circular polarizer brings and what a neutral density brings. And combining them together is a really, really powerful thing. A lot of times this is going to be 2 separate filters. So anytime you can take a system like this and combine them into one, it's just going to make the profile on your rig so much smaller and make your life easier. It's less things to worry about, it's less things to break, and you just want it to work super, super easy. Now, just to kind of go an overview of it, what you see here is what you get. This is a 2-in-1 filter. Now, what you have is you can basically screw it here on the front, and you basically decide what filter size you want. I got an 82mm because that's the biggest one I have. But as you can see, I actually have a 77mm lens here, and I actually have a Haida step-up filter that lets me take this 82mm filter and I can convert it on a 77mm lens. And it allows you to have one filter for all your lenses. It's just a kind of a tip. If you're going to buy filters, buy a big one, get step-up filters for your smaller lenses, and then everything fits all together. Oh, and hey, just one random note about this step-up ring. This is one thing I wanted to point out. Haida does make this 77mm to 82mm step-up ring. They make other sizes, but I do think it's worth noting this is a really nice step-up ring, and one thing I really appreciated, if you look on it, it actually has these like little ridges that are built into it. It's brass, which means it's solid. It's not gonna bend and break like aluminum. But what's really nice about the brass kind of ridges here is it does allow you, when you're screwing filters on, if you have an adapter, it gets you that little extra grip that makes it get on easier and off. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but if you use adapters in before, it's such a pain when adapters kind of get stuck with stuff, and I just love this little touch. Now, as you can see, this is a screw-in filter, and what I love about this is just how simple and intuitive it is. If you put this on your camera, you're probably gonna figure it out in just a couple seconds. Now, it's got 2 elements in it. It's got a circular polarizer, and it's got that barrel neutral density filter. Now, to control the CPL, what you need to do is you can literally just take this red ring in the front, and you can rotate it. And as you rotate it, it'll then let the circular polarizer come in and find out and dial it in exactly what you want. If you want to get rid of reflections, make your skies blue, you name it. Once you get that kind of dialed in CPL, it's there, it's good to go. And then what I love is it's got this little lever here. And then at this point, you can literally just come and dial in mechanically your strength from a 3 all the way up to 7 stops of neutral density. And what I love about this is that on the top, there's actually indicators of where you're at. So you don't have to guess. And it's hard stops, which means if you get all the way to the end, even if you're doing a video or photography, if you're not looking at the top of your lens, you can feel when you get to that end. Those hard stops are really nice. And really, the other thing I really like about this system is the fact that, it comes in one case and one filter, you throw it on there. There's not a whole bunch of stuff you got to put together. It just works. It's a very, very valuable thing. Now, whenever I do a review of any piece of equipment, I always like to talk about what I see any rooms of improvement so you can make an educated decision if this is something that actually makes sense for you. And I really just think this Haida Pro II, there's not a lot I can find about it that I don't like. It's got no X of death. It's got really good color rendition. And if I had to have any kind of nitpicky thing I would say about this filter, it would just be nice if there was a lens cover option. This does not come with any kind of lens cover option, so when you're walking around, your lens cover is going to be exposed. But really, besides that, I would highly recommend this. I just had a lot of fun going out there and shooting out this. So if you're looking for a VND and a CPL all in one, this could be something that I think could really make a good addition to your kit. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you see of this. Leave me notes and comments down below, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.